Okay, so let's take a look at part one of the portfolio project. 3 steps to part one of the portfolio project, but this part is the easiest part of all 3 of them probably. So let's take a quick look. It lays out your network up here at the top here. You are a network administrator for B&SC Core, and your organization consists of Server 2012, and it breaks down the OUs. So you got accounting, marketing, administration, IT, production, sales, and shipping. This is also an important part. There are 3 separate sites, all within the city limits of Buffalo, interconnected via networking. So for us, it's all part of the same domain, is what that is saying. Breaks it down further and says Site 1 houses the accounting, administration, and IT. Up here, accounting, administration, and IT. Okay? And then you can read the rest of it further on. So what I want to show you is step 1. Asked you to create an Active Directory design diagram. So what this basically is an org chart, an organizational chart. So I'm sure you could have Googled this and found an example or two, but I will show you one that I just created real quick. Now the program that I have right back here is called Visio. You could probably download the free trial of this. Microsoft always has the 30-day trial, that sort of thing. Or this might actually be included in DreamSpark. I'm sorry, not DreamSpark, Microsoft Imagine these days. So you could check that out. Or there's plenty of other programs that do something similar. So you can take a look and use whatever you can find. You can probably even use PowerPoint or something like that. But the idea here is to have a tree type view of your organizational units all the way down to a user. So in this example, we have the B&SC Core, right? So this asks us to include the diagram of the forest root domain. So that is bnsccore.com, all right? That's what I have up here at the top. They probably put a .com, just so we don't get confused. Within bnsccore.com, we're going to break it down. In this example of step 1, how many sites are there within Buffalo? You got 3 separate sites. 3 sites within Buffalo. Site 1, Site 2, Site 3. In each of those sites, it breaks it down further. Site 1 has accounting, administration, IT. So I would put accounting, administration, and IT off of Site 1. I didn't make enough room in this particular example to put them all, but this is the way it's going to look. Site 2, you're going to have marketing, sales, production. Put those in Site 2. And so forth on Site 3. Furthermore, it says, somewhere in here, and one figure showing where the users per each OU are going to be. So within accounting, I have 12 users. So below accounting, I would technically have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, up to 12 separate people, and it would just continue on the tree structure. But in our directions, it does say only provide 1 user no matter how many there are in the OU. So only provide 1, just call it the manager. The manager of accounting is, and make up a fictitious name. So that is step 1, and you're going to break that down into this tree structure all the way down to a person for each OU within a site within our domain. Step 2, your supervisor has asked you to create a second diagram showing the 2 new locations and how you would add the new cities to the existing structure. So if I go back up here, it says B&SC Core is expanding to 2 other cities, Albany, Henrietta. So we're going to have Albany, Henrietta, and our original site, Buffalo, New York. So we have the main domain, or the domain forest, then we're going to have 3 separate sites, right? you still want to have one domain. There you go. So our main domain and then 3 sites. The 2 new cities will all be in one building, not 3, and each city will be its own site. But each will also have the 7 departmental OUs, just like Buffalo. So they will also be broken down into the 7 OUs that we mentioned before. So, what do we have? Let's go over that again. We got the same domain, forest domain. Then we have 3 separate sites again. So it's looking kind of familiar here, right? So instead of site 1, 2, and 3 within Buffalo, we would now have Albany, well, we'd say Buffalo site 1, then we'd have Albany, then we'd have Henrietta. Now technically on Buffalo, we would have the 3 separate sites, 2, 2, 2, and then we would have accounting below that, accounting off of site 1, 2, and 3, you know what I'm saying? So we would have, let's put it something like this. We're going to call this Buffalo. And then we would do this. Connect it here. And connect it here. Something like that. You know, this is nice and neat. And then this would be site 1. Hey, what's going on here? Site 1. Site 2. Site 3. And then below that, we would have accounting, whatever the other 2 were, accounting, administration, and IT off of site 1, and so forth. And these other 2, Henrietta and Albany, we're going to have all of the OUs under each one of those without separating it into sites further. But that's the gist of it there. And in fact, I'm going to go ahead and say, so that we don't get too messy here, that you don't have to go to the organization. Yeah, you do. Yeah, okay. You don't have to go to the user level, all right, on the second diagram. You just need to go to the OU level. Perfect. So get creative and design up those 2 diagrams. And then step 3, compose an essay explaining the new structure. The new structure being the second diagram that you have, telling us how the 2 new sites are going to fit into that domain. Okay, and you want to take what we're going to learn in the next few weeks and go into the domain controller aspect. You know, are you going to have one single domain controller going for Buffalo, Henrietta, and Albany, or one domain controller at each of those sites? So go ahead and take a look at that and tell me what you think, and write up a little essay about that. Then I do want you to put all of these into one single document. So actually, after you make the diagram, you save it as a JPEG or whatever, and copy that into the Word document that you're writing your essay in. So we'll take the first diagram, second diagram, and the essay all in a single submitted document. And that is part 1. Go ahead and let me know if you need any help with that, and I'll be sure to get back to you. All right.